Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. So glad you joined us today to stay curious. This is May 28th, 2025, and yesterday, Chris LeMarie, a wonderful budding photographer from Ohio, was out there at Starship City, whatever they call it in Texas. Someone will tell me exact Star City, I think they call it. The ninth launch of a Starship on the big booster there. Some of it went right, a lot of it went wrong, let's face it. But that's the way SpaceX operates, Marty. They keep doing it until they get it right. And I'm saying hi to Marty Winkle, my co producer, adjusting the camera here, as we're sorry to be a little delayed today, but those of you watching it on the repeat don't know that. But we're sometimes challenged with the technology. So thank you to Trekkie Techie for getting us out of the latest jam that Marty was in on our Streamlabs production there. Great shot there, Marty. Did you watch any of that launch? We'll talk about it in a minute, but I did it, eating a good meal at Zarella's with John Zarella, Tom Usak, and of course CB, Carlton Bailey's. Quite fascinating. Some of it went very good, some of it went very wrong. Yes or no, Marty? Did you watch it?
I watched the rerun.
Okay. Uh, yeah, interesting. Did you see the payload bay? Yeah, all the FOD coming out of it. We were wondering if that's foreign object debris or is that some sort of ice crystals there. And I'm mixing me up here a Danny's Rocket Ranch, Arnold Palmer there. And we'll give Danny a little love tomorrow. There's a drink out of my Dave Stangy glass. This says Detroit on it. Ah, cha. That's actually pretty good stuff. Danny's Rocket Ranch drink there. He makes margarita mixes and stuff like that. We'll give him a big plug tomorrow. Hi, Steve Jokums. Mark Usiak, good afternoon from Canaveral Groves out there. And so we got a good little program here. We've got the most popular Australian astronaut, their first birthday today. Got a little tease on at the end of the program about the Axiom flight that's going to go a week from Sunday, as well as an astronaut encounter that I was at today with Mark Usiak, and I'm going to give Skylab some love. After all, we didn't talk about its launch on May 25th, 1973. 3 days later, they're cooling down, and a lot of good stuff about to happen on Skylab up there. So there's the entrance of our American Space Museum under the direction of myself and Executive Director Gabriel Rothblatt. We're hoping that we can improve the look at that over the next 6 months or so. If you want to be a member, that is $25 for individual membership, $45 for family. And we have different levels there, like all good nonprofits do, to enhance your membership and support of us here. Well, I'm going to kick off with a story that I didn't print out, and therefore I'm going to make it brief. The one thing I didn't print out, got a little carried away getting. No, I haven't. No, I haven't printed out here. We love sharing news of the week that we hear that come on my news feed. An unknown bacteria on Earth has developed in the Chinese space station. The Monkeynauts are facing a situation right out of a science fiction movie. But we know that there's microbes and other things that don't seem to grow the way they do on the Earth that are in the space station, International Space Station. They always swab the windows and surfaces and then analyze it later. Well, this is what the Chinese have done on their Tiangong space station. An unknown bacterium never before seen on our planet has been discovered on the Chinese space station Tiangong, which means Heavenly Palace. The discovery, worthy of science fiction scenarios, raises a new question about life in orbit and microbiological risks. The discovery of this opens up a new page in research into life in space. It serves as a reminder that despite all the precautions taken, man is never alone on his interstellar journeys. Invisible microorganisms could well play a key role in success or failure of future great space adventures. And I know the International Space Development Conference is going to be June 22nd in Orlando, and Gabriel Roth, our executive director, is the chairman of that. I know the International Space Development Council addresses these sort of concerns in some of their talks and so forth. But something to think about. The last group of cosmonauts to come back, their samples taken from the habitat revealed the presence of a bacteria that wasn't known on Earth, named Nalia. And guess what? They're calling it Tangonesis, after the space station where it was born on Tangong. So Nalia Tangonesis, and it's related to the Nalia circulans, Naillia, and then Circulans for all you biologists out there. A soil bacterium known for its robustness, all right, classified as a pathogenic bacillus. And like its cousins, it's capable of forming spores, which act as survival capsules in the face of environmental stress. And to know how these things affect us, make us ill, maybe, could be a COVID-19 situation in space. So this is just another part of the equation of going to Mars on a 9-month journey there, 3 or 4 months there, maybe a year there, and then 9 months back to Earth, even in the best scenarios today. As one of the freaky things about human bodies I don't think about much is all of the bacteria and little whatever creatures that you see under electron microscope are all over our bodies, and we need those to be humans, and those get out of whack, we're in trouble real quick. So there you go. Bacteria on Chinese space station, just like the Earth space station, the International Space Station, I mean. Well, happy birthday, 81 years old, to Paul Desmond Skully Power, Australian-born American, also American citizen, geologist, geophysicist, payload specialist in 1984, one space flight, eight days in space on 41G in 1984. Those were like the wagon train days of the shuttle era, when they didn't even wear flight suits. You'll see me in a minute there. He's 81, born in Sydney, Australia, May 28, 1944. He is a revered national hero in Australia, as I'm sure Cliff Watson will be happy to see him on here. Only one flight, and he refused to shave his beard. Okay, there he is in his official photograph, the first bearded astronaut. NASA assumed that he was going to shave his beard before flight, but he was able to demonstrate that he didn't need to shave it for the seal of the helmet. That was basically like a race car driver helmet, built to keep the noise out. We were told by several astronauts, and instead of really protecting you, or air, there was air being blown in there from a tank, but it wasn't a survival air system there. So a payload specialist, and he payload specialists didn't get astronaut pins. They weren't part of a class. They went up with their payload, like our good friend Charlie Walker. There's a picture of him with Garno, the politician. I want to say Jake Garno, the Canadian that went to space. Now this is in the mid deck down there, Marty, right? And so they had 4 on the top, and there's a third one on the bottom somewhere in there. No windows. You're just like riding along as cargo there, and that would be very interesting to ride a shuttle like that. Which our good friend Charlie Walker did 3 times. There he is, Paul Desmond Skully Power. Hope you're having a great birthday there in Australia. Wanted to show you something interesting. So, I love banners. Well, there's a Skully Power family coat of arms in Australia, and it's a powerful representation of the family's rich history, values, and legacy. This coat of arms has been meticulously researched and recreated to ensure historical accuracy, reflecting the noble and enduring qualities passed down through generations. And the red is a tribute to the resilience. The gold is associated with virtue and excellence. Silver represents integrity and harmonious living. The cross for Christian resurrection and victory over sin. The stars represent victorious qualities of the Skully Power members. So how appropriate is that for him? And the feathers are ancient symbols of serenity and peace. And so there's the Skully Powers coat of arms in Australia. And there he is just a year ago or so, looking fine with his beard and all there at age 81. So happy birthday to you. And many, many more there, Paul Skully Power. All right, what's up next here? Oh, yes, we're going to talk about monkeys in space, okay? And some of the first travelers were primates. NASA wanted to use primates that were similar in nature to the body of a human to test the things we didn't know about. Could you survive a 2,000-mile-an-hour liftoff and so forth? So let's talk about monkeys in space. Not these kind of monkeys, Marty. Did you sneak that in there? Sea monkeys. No, not those kind of monkeys in space, but Cain and Abel. Abel and Baker. Not Cain and Abel. Abel and Baker. Their names taken from the 1943 U.S. military phonetic alphabet. They're America's first space travelers, Monkeynauts, launched on May 28, 1959. What pad were they launched from? I'll bet somebody knows out there. Cain and Abel and Baker launched from what pads out there? And yes, we want to resurrect. I've heard the pleas out there. We need to resurrect Marty's question of the day. We've not been doing that, so we'll get back on that, Marty. America's first space travelers did a 1959 suborbital flight, almost 2 years before Alan Shepard did, on February 5th, 1961. Abel was a 7-pound female rhesus monkey, and Baker a 1-pound female squirrel monkey, were launched in the nose cone of a Jupiter rocket missile dubbed AM-18. Now, they reached 300 miles. All right. Suborbital flight, that's a heck of a distance. 1,500 miles downrange. I think the Jupiter rocket was a little bit hot, more powerful than they thought. And they traveled at speeds over 10,000 miles an hour. They experienced weightlessness for 9 minutes. All right. Take that, Katy Perry and Gayle King. They had weightlessness for 9 minutes in 1959. And of course, I refer to the suborbital superstar women that went on a Blue Origin flight. This mission marked the first successful recovery of living beings after their return from space. They were unharmed, but a couple days later, Abel died from effects of anesthesia given for removal of electrodes that they'd implanted in these little critters. But Baker survived and lived to 1984. Age 27, and is buried on the grounds of the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Abel was preserved and is now at the Smithsonian Institute, the National Air and Space Museum. I've seen the little taxidermy of the little guy there, and they were tiny. To show you just how tiny they were, this is little-known Gordo. Gordo was one of the first monkeys to travel into space as part of NASA's program. By the way, this are all part of the Mercury manned space program. They were Mercury capsules later on that, of course, Ham and Enos flew in. This little guy did not survive. A technical malfunction prevented the capsule's parachute from opening, but he did go the same profile that Abel and Baker did in December 1958. And then in 6 months later, they did a successful with 2 of them. And this little guy is a South American squirrel monkey. about a foot tall and weighing about 2 pounds. And so now you know it there about our Monkeynauts in space. And a couple patches were made by members of the Cape Canaveral Space Force, now called Space Force, out there at the Sands History Museum. Okay, and we know that you all are watching out there and appreciate that. Sharon Rodriguez probably knows a lot about who made these. She manages the gift shop. Well, there's a Gordo patch they made for him, lost at sea, poor little guy, the first bioflight. And then bioflight 2 was Abel and Baker there. So, like picking up stuff like that. All right, let's talk off the cuff about Skylab here. Don't have any notes in free. I do. How could I go without notes? Skylab, of course, stranded in orbit. Skylab 1 was the orbital workshop to engineer. Skylab 2 was the first crewed launch on May 25th, 1973, with Pete Conrad, former moonwalker, pioneering this mission, with Joe Kerwin, the first true medical doctor to go to space. He's still alive. And Paul Weitz. Both Conrad and Weitz have passed on. And I got a picture of him there. There we are. But I did want to comment about the Wizard of Id becomes sort of a mascot of Skylab for some reason. And I've never heard the story about that. But this is the Wizard of Id knight and the wizard there in a gondola. Of course, without any in weightlessness of space there. So they're on a lot of the Skylab stuff, Wizard of Id stuff. Gary Hart is the artist who approved of that. Conrad in the middle, Weitz on the right. Saw Joe Kerwin at last year's Hall of Fame induction. Astronaut Hall of Fame induction is going on this week. Once they got up there, they rendezvoused with the Skylab, and here's what they saw. They saw the whole meteor shield ripped off because it was attached to the solar panel that was ripped off. So they saw the jammed solar. There was other solar panel was jammed. All right, and they thought they could actually take a 10-foot pole and separate it. Well, they went up there. They soft docked and expected they had to eat. They were very tired, of course. And they soft docked after an inspection. They ate and they planned their first repair attempt. So they undocked so Conrad could position the command module by the jammed solar panel. And Weitz would perform a stand-up EVA trying to free the array by tugging it with a 10-foot pole. You heard the expression, can't touch me with a 10-foot pole? Well, it didn't originate there, but I'm sure they had some jokes about it. Kerwin was holding on to Weitz's legs inside the command module while station keeping was Conrad, something that they didn't plan to do. There again, NASA's ingenuity tried to do something that they didn't. Well, it failed, consumed a lot of Skylab's nitrogen maneuvering fuel to keep it in the progress. Meanwhile, inside, they hadn't been inside yet, but once they did, it got to be 100 degrees inside. But they docked after 8 failed attempts of docking. They had to don their pressure suits, partially disassemble the command service module's docking probe, and then the next attempt worked. Once inside the hot Skylab, they deployed a collapsible parasol through the small scientific airlock to act as a sunshade, and it worked and immediately started dropping temperatures. Jack Kinsler, Mr. Fix-It, came up with that, and Don Arabian also had something to do with it. And let's see if I can get there we go. There's a big fat piece of it there. Which way does that go? There we go. Skylab parasol right there. That's a good healthy section of it that's being put together right here in this photograph. There you see the color of it that I have. Of course, the other side is aluminum. And I think they put the aluminum side out facing. We'll see that in a second. But this is going to go in the Skylab exhibit. Took it off the wall in there. And Steve Jokums does an excellent Skylab model decals. He built this, and of course the Searching for Skylab is one of the definitive documentaries on that by our friend. We need to get Dwight on here, Vanecki, and that put that on the list, Marty, of people we could probably reach out to. Great. You want to finish your Skylab model right. You can't paint the solar panels on the power supply. That was solar panels of the windmill was for the Skylab's mighty powerful solar telescope, which was the main mission of this Skylab program. And we actually have 4 patches. Skylab 1 is considered by engineers the orbital workshop. There you got Skylab 2 is actually, the patches in the PR world go 1, 2, and 3 though. All right, and they just call Skylab just Skylab. As you can see, the 2 with the Victorious Man of Leonardo there, and then the Skylab 3, the alpha numeric there. But the firing room access, you couldn't get into firing room access with a 3 Skylab 3 pass on the final launch there. So these are some of the treasures of our museum. We've been talking a lot about, we're about the people, space workers and so forth here, and behind every person is a badge. And we're going to start displaying a lot more badges in the museum here. So there's our little love to Skylab, and hope that you all will do some more of that on Stay Curious here with Skylab 1 and talk more about that EVA, maybe get a guest or two on to talk about that. So we want to get up to some current events, and Chris LeMarie, an excellent photographer, comes to the Space Coast from his residence in Ohio, captured this shot on his remotes out there at Star City near Brownsville, Texas, there on the Gulf Coast. And excellent shot there. He said his other remote, though, was kind of clouded out by the steam and liftoff of the mighty rocket there. But this is a great green screen here for us. Excellent. Works very well and good for you. Thank you for sharing your pictures, Chris, with us. And we look forward to other photos. And I read a report that they're going to maybe launch again in 3 weeks. They've got 3 or 4 of these lined up. And one of the engineers said that's the SpaceX way. We're going to line them up, fix what the problems we found along the way, and then get them back up there and finally learn how to do this right. And you know, Marty, that smacks of the old timers talking to me about the our Cape Canaveral gallery, and particularly the Atlas program, that they were always blowing up rockets. You know, once a week or so something was blowing up, but they never got bit twice by the same mistake or the same part failure. It was always usually parts fatiguing, a bolt shearing and getting in the wrong place and taking the whole thing out in but that's what always impressed me, talking to old timers like Murphy Wardman and Jack Martin, rest in peace, you guys, about, you know, what it took. And it took a lot of risk assessment, but they challenged the risk too and learned from the risks when something went wrong. And I'm confident SpaceX will learn from this, and one day they'll be flying these things just like they're flying Falcon 9s, Marty. They took 18 or 19 Falcon 9 failures before they finally landed one, and now they've landed over 450 of them on an unmanned barge out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, most of them. All right, what have I got up next here to keep y'all staying curious? Oh yeah, can't leave our buddy and rocket photographer Mark Usak out. He took this photo from Cocoa, I think you're on Cocoa Beach, you said, of this morning's beautiful launch of a Falcon 9 rocket headed north this time, Marty. Sure, did you catch it? Let me get something to drink here. Did you catch it this morning? Where were you?
Yeah, I watched it from my home. I can look out my living room window and watch it.
It wasn't very noisy from my home.
It's quite noisy in Titusville.
Because it was going north. Yeah, it was going away from us, I guess, and so it was going overhead. But another batch of Starlink satellites. So Great to have Mark Usak in town, true partner of our museum with his brother Tom. They photographed over 70 rocket launches in a very professional way, earning some side hustle money with some of the great aviation and space magazines of the time. And Mark and I met out there at Kathy Thornton doing the honors and talking about her 4 space flights in 6 years. Wow. She stayed in training a long time. And when she got out of the astronaut course, she taught physics at her alma mater, University of Charlottesville, in University of Virginia, in Charlottesville, Virginia. And would you believe it that launch director Mike Leinbach and launch director Bob Seek are also graduates of the University of Virginia. And to give you a little close up about how this beautiful lady looks, there she and I are a few hours ago out there. One of my favorites, we have her blue suit in our women's gallery. And I was watching, I loved hearing her talk, and she talked about the Hubble telescope mission when they did the first repair, STS-61, I believe. And 49 was her maiden mission. She got to throw the solar panel that wouldn't roll up off of it on that EVA. And there she is pointing to this as she's doing that on a video there. And got a picture of Marky with her there, and our good friend Nick Thomas there at the Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. They also do a autograph and photo session for free now out underneath the Atlantis off the gift shop at 4:15 every day. Well, we'll end here a little bit talking about the Hall of Fame and one astronaut in particular, Peggy Witson. Bernard Harris is going to be inducted, and Peggy Witson on Saturday morning. If you're local and got a pass out there at the Space Center, it starts at 10:30 under Atlantis. I'll be there checking it out. And Peggy Witson will not be there. Bernard Harris will be, but Peggy Witson will be in quarantine for her Axiom 4 flight as a commander. And when I got out there, Marty, this morning, big film crew was leaving, walking across in front of the big electronic sign. And I asked Charlie at the gate there what was going on, and he said Peggy Witson just left. They filmed her getting her medal and her induction into the Hall of Fame at the Hall of Fame building. And but I thought she's under quarantine already, so it is a week from Sunday, so maybe I'm sure she wore a mask and took it off. So we were wondering about that. John Zarella, who is a master of ceremonies, dined with John at his tasty restaurant in Cape Canaveral with CB and Marky there. And nobody picked up the tab. Everybody went Dutch, Marty. So Zarella was wondering how they were going to do that because she wasn't going to be there. And he thought that they were going to do a broadcast or something. So, yep, they taped it, and she'll be presented her Hall of Fame. Now, she is America's most experienced astronaut, and there's a ceremony underneath Atlantis, a beautiful thing, last year's. She's 675 days in space, 2 long ISS missions, maybe 3, come to think of it, and 2 Axiom. This will be her second Axiom mission there. All right, and our Axiom 4 astronauts are, and I hope I get this right, Peggy, her 5th flight to space. Okay, the gentleman to her right is Subhanshu Shukla, India's 2nd astronaut. I'll talk about that. Then we have an ESA Polish astronaut, and I believe that's him on the left. And the bearded gentleman is from Hungary, Tibor Kupa, and the Hungarian is Slawas Unaski. All right, and let me see if I got that right. Oh, it's not listing their names there, doggone it. But 3 rookies going with America's most experienced astronaut in a spaceship that doesn't really need a pilot to fly it. And they've proven that with some of the commercial crews they've set up there. So Peggy's an Axiom employee now, of course, with Michael Lopez Allegra, who's the backup for this mission, and he's flown twice in space for Axiom. What's Axiom up to? They want to build a space station, and they want to put a module up a year, and then after 4 modules are put up, detach it with its own power plant, and then it becomes space tourism or space factory, and some parts of it, whatever, someone will pay Axiom to go up there and do their job with up there. So the 3 rookies up there, let's talk about the patches here. This patch represents the International Space Station and Axiom's cooperation with the big triangle going up. Very simple there, 2, 4, 6, 7 stars. That's for each of the, I'm not sure what those 7 stars are for. There's 4 pilots there. So they didn't have a write-up of that I could find. But I did find a little write-up on the other patches that are going up. And here's the only place you'll hear about these patches probably, is on Stay Curious, as we have the Hungarian to Orbit patch, all right? And the Hungarian to Orbit patch honors the first Hungary astronaut since the fall of the Soviet Union, okay? Tibor Kapu was selected from 247 applicants to fly the mission. All right, he is part of ESA, so we're going to have Alex Carl, our ESA friend, and Eurocom will be in here. It has a big elk constellation dot to dot drawn out there over the Earth. All right. Hunor is short for Hungarian to Orbit. Hunor, Hungarian to Orbit, developed by the Hungarian Space Office, completely independent of ESA. However, he's taken the ESA flag up there with him also and has ESA support. We'll have Alex on here to talk about that, Marty, next week. I've been in touch with him. It depicts the Kastar Savras and 4 stars representing the final astronaut candidates. Okay. So I'm not sure that Costa Severos, that must mean like Godzilla-ros or something, a name for that elk thing there. What do you think, Carlton? Is that a Costa Severos? We'll dive into that. Ignis, okay, is the patch for Poland. This is the first since 1978. All right. Again, the ESA Space Agency has a bigger part with this astronaut. They partnered for the Ingus mission for astronaut Sławisz Uznanski. And I'm sticking to that. All right. Sławisz Uznanski, Marty. And this actually, look at what this depicts. An eagle in the Polish colors whose wings trace the contours of the Orla Perk mountain range in a stylized depiction of Scutum constellation, a tribute to Johannes Hevelis over the mission's name Ignis, the Latin word for fire. All right, now each ESA mission has a theme about it, okay? And of course, I'm not thinking of any of the themes beforehand. When we have Alex Carl on from ESA, we'll talk about that at the time. I'm thinking of Minerva is one of them. That maybe each astronaut picks a name for their mission. Igneous fire is what this astronaut's going to do. Johann Hevelis, the constellation Scutum, is the sword, okay, is what that is. Hevelis was a stargazer in the 1800s that was the first one to group together the southern constellations and give them names on there. So, and finally, the final patch of this mission is the India patch, and it represents a milestone for India's human spaceflight program. integrating their Gagnian, and that's over my shoulder here, Gaginian, and I'm so horrible with pronunciations as everyone's nodding in agreement. Gagagnia, all right, going to stick to that, Gagagnia Initiative. It remains India's independent crewed program. They have 4 astronauts that are in the queue, and Sakula is the first one to fly of this group. However, he's not the first Indian to go to space, as that was this gentleman on the left, Rakesh Sharma, in 1984, spent about 7 days on the Soyuz 7, Salyut 7 space station of Russia, going up on a Salyut T-11 spacecraft with these other 2 cosmonauts there. So you might see I bet the press is going to call this Axiom Indian the first Indian to go to space. He's not, because the way they word it is misleading, that he's the first Indian of this dedicated program for India to put their own astronauts in space. And those astronauts are called Voyomanauts. Vyomanauts, Voyomanauts. And I'll be talking to our good friends, the Ramanujams, over the weekend and get my Indian dialect down and find out a little bit about what they know about Sharma here. He's still alive, flew in 1984, and this Skula going up on Axiom 4 there. And there they are. Yes, I had that right. The ISA Polish colors on the right there, and the Hungarian guys on the left. So don't let me butcher their names again. Tibor Kapu is the guy on the right, and Skula there beside Peggy, and then you've got Uzanaski on the far left there. So God bless you all. 3 rookies going to space. That'll put us up to 666 humans in space. We're at 663, or where are we at? Yeah, we're at 633. I had that backwards there. 10 humans orbiting Earth right now, Marty. We've got 7 on the International Space Station and 3 on the Tiangong Chinese Space Station. All pretty fresh crews, about a month into their 6-month journeys, orbiting the Earth 17 times a day on these mini factories, mini science posts, and maybe on the Chinese sense, a military outpost for them up there. 83 women, including Peggy, going up there for her 5th time. So Godspeed, y'all. And God love all of you all out there for watching Stay Curious today. Hope that you can visit our beautiful museum someday. We certainly get awesome reviews from everybody, Marty. And we're trying our best to change out some of the cases and freshen it up a little bit, as thanks to Stay Curious and your contributions to our American Space Museum, and a little bit of windfall we got from Shuttle Fest. We got some money that we can dress up some things we've been wanting to and take care of some routine maintenance. So thank you all for watching. Marty, let's see, going to say hi to Cliffy Watson in Pomona, Australia, Gary Gerald in Georgia, Tom Celentano up in Connecticut, Mitch Rothman up there in Colorado, Tommy Usak in Pennsylvania, Robert Law in Dundee, Scotland, Michael Bruno down in Miami, Carlton Bailey out at his nature preserve in out there in next to Cocoa, and Steve Jokums up in Fox Lake, Illinois, Marky Usiak, he's out there at the hacienda with the CB, and Jubilee. Haven't looked up where you're from, our friend, but thank you for joining us. Tell your friends to like us, share, and make comments, as it improves our algorithm, as we do make a little bit of money every month from your participation in the advertising that's shown on YouTube. So tomorrow, looking forward to a little bit of a mosh pit in here, off the cuff, talking about the Astronaut Hall of Fame artwork, the art panel, not art panel, but the artists who are going to be at the art exhibit Friday for $25. You can walk off the street and go see Chris Callie's masterpieces, along with some great artwork by Nicole Stott, Lee Wilson, and Ronnie Woods will be there. So until we'll have that fun, and whoever shows up will show up. Thank you, Lloyd Franklin, for showing up today, a good supporter of our museum, and he can't wait for Shuttle Fest next year, April 25th and 26th at the Cocoa Beach Hilton. So, Marty, thank you for efforting a great Streamlabs job today and solving our problems with Trekkie Techie there, Jessica Galloway. So until tomorrow, when you're not going to want to miss having a lot of fun, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you be part of that fun tomorrow to bridge the space between us. Thank you so much. Cheers.